Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 40 of the single player Let's Play series. Haven't been doing a whole heck of a lot as far as technological advancement goes in between episodes, but I have been working on building a lot. So you may have noticed that around here we've been sticking with the same sort of building scheme, same palette, same everything for the most part, and that's all been relatively fitting of sort of the industrial era that we've been building in and the technology that we've been having access to. But things are all about to change, and pretty drastically too. So I've gone ahead and started with a new setup. None of the stuff that you see here will be deconstructed because I really love these builds. I love a busy world and I don't want things to stop. But I do want to distribute my lag across multiple chunks, which is something I've discussed in the past. And I do also want to kind of start looking into different building palettes and different ideas and giving myself a slightly easier place to build around, because some of these things are pretty hard to shove into their corresponding places without using an excessive amount of covers. I think the biggest thing that I did automate was over here. I did finally automate the printed circuit board etching process. So this is our crafter, and that goes into this chest. And instead of leaving this on 24/7, which I still don't want to do because I've got it set to use a lot of upgrades, I've got it on 8 speed upgrades and 25 volume upgrades. And then down here, I've entangled that chest. And so whenever there's something in that chest, a comparator output turns on the pressure for this area, and there's exactly enough pressure to run the last craft when the last item is pulled out, so that when the comparator is no longer running, because there's no items in here, because it's here instead, there's still just enough pressure to finish crafting that. So far, this has been going really well. This has allowed us to get circuit boards fully automated from beginning to end. So now we've got a bunch of finished PCBs. We can make more. And finally, we have them end-to-end automated. Now, I think I discussed in the past that I had planned on eventually implementing like better pathways and stuff. I really haven't gotten to that, but I will probably do that just a little bit here and there, maybe off camera or on stream. I'm looking for ideas on what to make them out of, maybe thinking immersive concrete, because I'm not really sure what else to do. I don't want to do spruce because half of these buildings are made of spruce or dark oak. I don't want to do oak wood. And I don't want to do stone bricks because stone bricks are pretty boring, and we're not really using just plain old stone bricks. You can see we're using variants of tuff in a lot of places, lots of clinker bricks, etc. But the biggest thing that I'm here for today, the biggest thing that I'm excited to show off is this right over here. This is the new industrial build that I've been working on. I mentioned the color palette at the end of the last episode, and I have decided to put it here, and I've gone with another 2-tiered effect similar to what we did over here for our main immersive build. Something about this style I really enjoyed, except this one's a little different because it's built into the hill. I'm taking advantage of the depth factor here, and it's actually significantly bigger in scale than that one, just because the layout of this one is a little bit different. So there have been a couple of conflicts with the terrain over here. You can see that there's a spot or two over here by the ravine that I've got to smooth out. You can see there's like that very blatant line of stone that I've got to smooth out and make it look a little more natural. But this is the end setup, and I've been doing a lot of building, and there was one thing that I wanted to do, but I didn't want to set it up without you guys. Let's go on a quick tour, and then we'll talk about the remainder here. You can see I've used these really cool blackboards from supplementaries. If you just take a blackboard and you right click on it, you can actually doodle using left click, and then if you left click again in the place where you've doodled, it'll delete. Or if you just do shift left click, I believe the same will be the case, from what I can tell. You can copy these around as well, so that's why these are all exactly the same. When it says sector, you can just clone them, which is super easy. And on the inside, I've got a bunch of these little sub rooms that are divided by framed glass doors. So these are going to be for the little small sectors. There's just going to be like auto crafting of a thing in here, or a handful of machines at most in each one of these little auto crafting sectors. Sector E is by far the largest sector. This is where probably a large majority of auto crafting is going to occur as well, because there are 3 subsectors in this one as well that I haven't broken down. I don't really care. I'm not trying to be very organized here, but you can see it wraps around the back. And then upstairs is where we're going to have our NASA workbench, are probably going to have another mega multi-block mechanical crafter here, more than likely going to have a advanced generator, and then an induction cell here, and another one here once we get to that technology. So we're going to kind of prioritize this upper area for most of our late game stuff. But yeah, so far I'm really happy with the setup. The only thing that I don't like is the door. There is no door. So what I've done is I started working on this, and I didn't want to get too far into it, but this is a mechanical piston. You've seen some of the multi-block motion that we've been able to get where we can move large swaths of blocks around, and this is basically just a wall of iron plating that I've connected together using super glue. You can see that here. And we're pushing using a piston with a bunch of piston arms underneath. So if I take this hand crank and shift right click to run it in reverse, you'll see that these piston arms here, you can see those extension poles, they're just going to go all the way up until the door is shut. This is ideal. This is perfect. It's, you know, it is what it is. But I would like it to be on button press. I definitely don't want to come down here to do it. And I'd like to have a couple of like slightly more intelligent ways of getting this running. So we're going to set that up today. What we're going to need for that, of course, are a couple of things. We're going to need a motor, which I've already come prepared for. We also will need a flex point to get some rotational energy going here. And we're going to need a, from Create, there is the rotation. No, that's not it. What is it that I'm thinking of? Why can't I think a sequence gear shift? That's what it is. I knew it was going to come to me at some point. We just need a sequence gear shift, and so we'll autocraft that up really quickly. We've already got the electron tubes done, and that completes that chapter, which is fun. Again, that's not why we're here. We're here because the sequence gear shifts are really cool. So if we look at this, right, we need to move this 5 blocks up. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click this down here, and that gives us our sequence gear shift, and then I'm going to put our electric motor down. I'm going to crank it to like 128, and then we're going to give you a rotational speed, and you're going to see that it's not doing anything at all, and that's pretty dang useless. So what we can do is if we grab some redstone links, we're going to need 3 of these, I believe, which is perfect. What we can do is we can I keep on getting these major lag spikes. I'm not really sure what that part's about, but whatever. We can get these really cool wireless redstone interactions working, or rather, our really cool sequence gear shift working on wireless redstone interactions, I should say. And so what we can do for now is just set this up here, and we'll test with this with a button. Yeah, that works. That works. So if I right-click this, you'll see that it just spaz, and that's not really helpful. Let me explain what we need to do. We need to configure this. So if I right-click, you'll see we can configure it. And if we scroll up and down, we can change between options. And what we're going to do is we're going to scroll to turn or move the piston, pulley, gantry, whatever. And we're going to move it 5 meters forward. And I'm going to hope that that works. Now, we can wait for the next redstone signal and then do the same thing backwards. So we can just do that. And in fact, I'm going to double speed these. And let's see if this works. Yep, so that closes the door. And that opens the door. Easy as that. Now, unfortunately, now I'm locked out, but that's okay because this is actually not the main thing that we're going to be wanting to work on anyways. Like this is fine and great and dandy, but I actually don't want something like this having to run 24/7 on a button. I think that that can be pretty annoying. And so what we'll probably do instead is change this up really quickly so that we will, instead of waiting for another signal, let's do a timed delay of 15 seconds, 10 seconds. Let's just do 5 seconds. I think that should be plenty. And then what will happen is it will, actually we want to close the door. Oh no, open the door for 5 seconds and then close it. So next time that we send a redstone signal, it's going to try to run it backwards, which is going to do nothing because it's already as low as it is. It's going to wait 5 seconds, and then it's going to close the door. In theory. Did I mess something up here? Right, I didn't even give it a proper redstone signal. That is important. There we go. So you'll see it's going to do its thing, and then it'll wait for 5 seconds, and then it'll close the door. And so now the door is always going to be closed by default. That's exactly what I want, because this is a pretty high, I wouldn't say security, but it's definitely a busy place, right? Like, I don't think it necessarily makes sense to have things just sort of open and available all the time. And so what I'm thinking is we'll have either we could do pressure plates, would be an option. I wish that there was some sort of detector for players, but I still haven't been able to find anything like this at all. There's mob detectors, but I don't know that those... It says mob specifically, so I'm pretty sure that that doesn't work. If I look for player, there's nothing here except for the player module, which is not what it sounds like it might be. Proximity? No. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure that there's anything that we can do here except for use buttons, which is not that big of a deal. I wish that there was something cleaner available, but we can still make this work with buttons. I want to say that we can use... let me think on this. I don't remember for sure, but it would be really cool if this works. So let's try it. Let's do this just to clean stuff up. Let's grab an entangled block. I know I've been using these excessively, but they're really just so dang helpful for keeping builds clean. This was part of what I was talking about before. Let's link you there and link you there. And if I grabbed a redstone signal off of you, do you interact correctly? Oh, you most certainly do. How outstanding is that? So what we'll do is we'll just take you on a redstone link. We'll say hi. Whenever you receive a button press, emit on the same material as our door. And then over here, we'll put you down. Reset this back up because I had to tear it down. Whoops. And so now, assuming that everything is done correctly, which is a bold assumption, if I press this, door opens, I can walk through. Door shuts. Perfect. So now we can do the same thing on this end. Let's grab more of those big buttons. Actually, let's grab maybe some smaller buttons now that I think of it, because it would make a little more sense to do something slightly more discreet on the outside. Or... Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see about the big buttons. I think these might actually be a little better. I think they look better personally. And then if we do that with... I'm using Scorcha here, so let's try the Scorcha. I'm not really too worried about it looking perfect or not perfect. And then we'll grab more entangled blocks, because again, that setup is just pretty hard to beat here. We can entangle you there. Entangle you. Grab you, set you to those two. And so now, anytime that I want in or out, just press the button, go through, fall right into this hole that I've still got to patch up. And that should do it. Now, there is one other thing that I would really love to find a way to do. And the thing is this doesn't need to be running all the time. Right now, it's actually wasting energy. It's actually wasting rotation. So I'd love to see if there's a way to do a redstone signal for this, but I don't think that these are redstone sensitive. But there are the energy cells, and these guys can be redstone sensitive at times, if I recall. I haven't tested that in a long time because it's not a feature that many people ever really use, you know? Like, it's not a highly requested feature by many, to be completely honest with you. So I'm not too certain that that's going to work the way that I think it will, but we'll try. So let's see, redstone. Here we go. We'll fiddle with that in a second, because I have to remember how that works. If we do this into U, anytime we get a redstone signal from our buttons here, we should be getting a redstone signal there. And so now, anytime that we have our electric motor running, which will need to be reconfigured really quickly, let's set you back up. We can actually make it even faster if we wanted to, but I think 192 is plenty. Let's tell you to input on the back and output in the front. And so now you're getting energy, and that's not what we want. So we're going to make it so that you only run with a high signal, and now you're out. And then anytime I run the button, okay. May have to reconfigure this. Let me fiddle with that. Right, so this is a little convoluted, but I did learn that the electric motors can, in fact, take a redstone signal. You can see it has energy in it, but with this redstone signal here going into this block, it is not running. And so if I manually flip this, you'll see it'll turn on. And if I manually flip it again, you'll see it'll turn off. This power toggle latch, by the way, just think of it as a T flip-flop. If you're not too familiar with redstone overall, don't worry about it. This is really quite extra. So what we're doing is immediately when we receive the signal, with no delay at all, we're going to turn this guy on. And that's what this first line here does. Then this line here on a 4-tick delay is going to wait just long enough for this guy to spin up to start doing its thing. If I do it immediately at the same time as this, then it'll try to process here before it's done actually getting any momentum here. Then what I do is I wait 6 seconds using this delay to turn it back off, because if you'll recall, all of our processing is about 5 seconds plus a little bit to get the piston moving up and down. I've got everything configured here, I think, in such a way that this should hopefully work. I don't for sure know, but we're going to try it and find out, I suppose. So let's just press the button. Door comes down. I see. I see. Why are you being a jerk about it? Huh. That is super weird. Oh, it's because I had accidentally... I see what happened. Okay. We may have to do a test run of this one more time. So that should close it. Maybe 6 seconds is too close. Let's try making that 8. Okay, there we go. So now that is done. If we run it again, door opens. Door closes. Off. Okay, perfect. Hey, looks like that is up and running now. Let me just put a torch down here, and we should be good to seal this up. I think everything in here is just working as is, and I'm not going to fiddle with it. That is not what I'm trying to do here, is get myself in trouble with builds that are finicky. So that is that. We can clean all of this up as well. Just grab one more lab block. So now if I need to leave, just press the button, walk out the door, wait for it to shut behind me. If I need to enter again, press the button, door opens, we're good to go. Heck yes, I think that's a good setup. Alrighty, so I've started to do a little bit of work around here, but I've cleaned everything up and everything's working pretty well. You can see over here I've placed a couple of tanks, and I want to start on Oil Refinery this episode. I did some Oil Refinery at the very beginning of this series. If you'll recall, I used Pneumatic Craft to do that. This time around, we're going to do something a little differently. We're not actually going to be refining oil into 4 different materials. We're actually going to refine oil into heavy and light fuel or oil, and then that can be refined into fuel again. So to do this, we're going to need a fractionating still, there we go. And the reason that I want to do this is because we actually will need refined fuel for a couple of things. First of all, it is a great fuel for a gas turbine. It's also a great fuel for dynamos. And I wanted to set this up here and just play around with a couple of dynamos just to kind of give us... I really thought it would be kind of interesting to power like this door off of dynamo for now, just to do something a little different. And so that would mean we would need the compression dynamo, right? And that will take either tree oil or refined fuel. We might try both, but refined fuel has another really big purpose here, and that is that it is used to go to space. And that is kind of our next big milestone. We've made it a long ways in this pack, but the next biggest thing that we want to do is go to space. But that's probably another dozen episodes out at best. Before we do that, we're going to need to get this refined fuel. And so, of course, you can see you get light oil, heavy oil, and those both come from taking crude oil and processing it. So crude oil we've had before. I manually bucketed up a couple of lakes, but you can see that we can actually get an infinite supply of it if we put it in a desert or an ocean and just leave it running with a laser drill fluid base. And this is something that we don't have access to yet. We're still a little ways off in our research. So for now, I'm going to manually pump up some oil. There's a lot of the areas around us have that oil supply. So, excuse me. So we're going to probably steal some of that. And so I've already got a tank set up for the ender tank or dimensional tank set up in our big tank there. But we've got a lot of these little pockets and pools like this one. So what I'd love to do is get a motor set up. Which, you know, we should auto-craft motors. I think I'm pretty tired of crafting those manually. All right, so now we should be able to auto-craft a motor. That should do everything that it needs to do to get that going, so that's ideal. And what we're going to do is we are going to start pumping everything up. And one of the things that we can use to pump things up is also a quest reward. But if we look at the create, this guy, the hose pulley, this is a very simple device, one of my favorite devices as well. Let me grab my flux saw and a log. And perhaps we'll automate this sometime soon. Let's grab a piece of brass. We're also running low on that. And that's going to get us... Oh, you know what? It needed to be copper, not brass. That's all right. We have lots of brass and lots of these materials. I'm not too concerned about it. So we do this, this, and that gets us a copper casing. And then the copper casing for our hose pulley is just going to be a block of dried kelp and then a single copper sheet. So now we should be able to craft that. We should also have a motor, and we should have a flux point. And so now what my goal is here is to be able to just say, hey, put you down there. Put the electric motor down here. We'll crank that up a good bit. We'll give you power by hooking you up to the main power. And, oh, that needs to be negative. There we go. And so that's going to start to pull fluids out, right? Right. Change this to channel 6, right? 5? Now that's interesting. Why aren't you pulling out... fluids? Right. That's right. I forgot about this detail. Here's how this works, right? The hose pulley is now knee deep in oil. That's what you need your first batch of rotational energy for. That's all you need it for. Now that it's here, all we need to do is take a pipe. We do have fluid pipes somewhere. And take an attachment. Doesn't have to be a particularly nice one. And you need to actually do the pulling for it manually. It has to be done on the connection side. This doesn't actually do the sucking out. It does the connecting to your fluid source. And so this is just going to start going through and draining that out. And then over here, which we should get chunk loaded, by the way. I've been forgetting to do that. Let's just go ahead and grab one of the really nice chunk loaders. Oh, I'm out of blaze rods. That's not ideal. Over here, you're already almost full with oil. Well, dang. Okay, I thought that might take a little longer. I do have a lot of tanks. I could just go ahead and make this ridiculous. Just go all the way. And then it was 3, right? Yeah, that doesn't look so stupid. I mean, it looks partly stupid, but that's not the worst crime I've committed. Not at all. So now you can see that the lowest point is probably more like here. So if we start to connect these sources together, it'll be able to draw those out. Usually is able to draw those out. What's going on here? There we go. Sometimes it needs a little bit of help. Ideally, you'll have a large enough pool where this is not necessarily a problem, but who knows? To each their own. The circumstances are definitely on an individual basis for sure. So we can go ahead and pull this off and pull that out, and now we have a giant hole, sure, but we also have a bunch of oil back here in the industrial lab. So if we come over here and check out the lab oil supply, you can see it's already almost halfway full. So what I'm going to do is go grab maybe one more source of oil because they're all over the place. And I'll be back once that's pretty much full. This is just wrong. That is just wrong. Why are you in fluids? And there we go. Yet another one of these completely torn out. And since we didn't seem to have any excess in our ender tank or in our dimensional tank, watch how many times I say ender tank, but since none was left excess in the dimensional tank, that leads me to believe that this is not quite full. Correctamundo. Okay, so one more, I guess. And there we go. Now our tank is starting to serve up here as a buffer, which is totally fine. Not really concerned about that. Definitely want to clean up this mess, though. So I will go ahead and start patching up this spot here, and then there's this other spot over, here? I'm going to patch these up real quick, because these look terrible. So this is weird. These are all grass blocks that I just placed down using the building gadget, and I don't know if it's the gadget itself. Let's test. I'm going to take a strip of these and put them back. Yeah, that just keeps happening, where it doesn't do anything. I don't know why. I'm not terribly bothered, but it's just a little weird. I don't think bone meal as a whole is broken. I think it's just that one place in particular that's acting a little weird. If I come over here, yeah, see, it's working totally fine over here. These I also placed, and they're also doing the same thing. Super strange. Maybe that's a vanilla thing that I didn't know about, where it tracks if you place it down or not. I don't know. I don't know at all. Anyways, we should now have a bunch of oil in here waiting for us. And don't worry about this, by the way. I'm moving that as soon as I get it upgraded. This was just temporary. So yeah, this is completely full. You can see the tank down here also completely full. Not that that's much of a buffer. And so this will be for what I'm going to have right now is just have light oil and heavy oil here rather than refining them both. So what we can do is we can grab ourselves a couple of pipes for energy. We'll go and grab ourselves two, they don't have to be resonant. I guess integral components can just be, the standard ones. Thermal, we'll need 6 of these. Right, blaze rods. Ooh, we may have to go blaze rod hunting sooner than later. Flux networks, I have a flux point here that we're going to put down right there. And my plan here is to put my refinery. Is there a way to keep you from connecting? There's not. Okay, fun. Not the biggest fan of refined pipes either. I really wish that Thermal's pipe system was out, but still work in progress, which I totally understand. Pipes are really tricky. I would never personally implement pipes if it was up to me. They are rough. So yeah, I totally get it. So we should have those. Let's grab some frames and let's get started with the, we'll need one more frame at least, I know for sure. And we'll get started with the refinery crafting. So we've already got some scaffolding. Let's just grab 4 more. Let's grab some sheet metal and some engineering blocks. I know where the end key is. Maybe sometimes I futz it up as much as I did today. And then for a refinery, a fractionating still, we're going to need heavy engineering blocks. So let's grab, we're going to need 5 of these. So we'll grab those. And we'll also need, that was quick, nice. We'll also need a refinery output, which we already have a couple of, and 1 refinery controller, and we'll just need 1 more, which is super easy to get a hold of. And there's our second refinery controller. And so now we should just have to do, guess I forgot about those, weird. Now we should just have to do this. And that gets us a fractionating still. Everything is going to go through and populate again. We'll do 3 there and those there and press the button. And I'm realizing that we may once again need XNet for this. I know it seems like I've been overusing XNet, and I hope you guys understand. XNet's pretty complicated, but it's great for super ooh, goodness. I've been getting a lot of lag spikes like this lately. I'm not really sure why. But it's really complex, but in a beautiful way. So it's kind of hard to argue. So we're going to need a few connectors. Let's go ahead and grab 4 of those. Let's go ahead and grab anything else from XNet, like a controller. We'll need one of those for sure. We'll grab one of those. And for now, we can go ahead and start connecting stuff. So the thing that I realized was that we are going to be producing the same things from both of our fractionating stills. So while I can put these down, and I can just as easily say, like, hey, push-pull and pull in from the right, push-pull and pull in from the left, they're both going to be pulling in crude oil. So they're both going to be creating a mix of both. And so that's sort of the problem that I realized is that we will have to, figure that out and work around that. So let's go ahead and get those connected like so. Put you right. Get those connected like so. Put you right here. Put you there for just a little bit. Just a little bit. And now what we can do is we can, of course, make that XNet energy channel, and we will create here, extract, and then create here, insert, insert, and insert. And so now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to actually run some refining. So let's go ahead and wait for this to process a little bit. We're going to get heavy and light oil. And so what we'll need to do is if we take a look here, we can tell if we indicate, okay, so it looks like the left tank is that one. Let's do left is light engineering, or sorry, light oil. So we'll do, if I can reach it, light oil, and we'll come over here and we'll say heavy oil. And so now when I look in here, we'll know which one's which, light oil, heavy oil. So what we're going to do is out of both of these, we're going to make a fluid channel. We are going to create a channel or create connectors to extract the correct things and insert the correct things. Now, I don't know how filtering is going to work, so we're just going to look up thermal oil. And I'm going to see if I can drag these in. It does not look like I can. So I'm just going to have to wait for a bucket of each to be produced, I guess. Sort of seems to be the best alternative that I have at the moment. In the meantime, we're also going to need some sort of a drawer or just a trash can, honestly, would work just fine as well. I don't need the bitumen, so I'm just going to put this here. So bitumen is not really all that helpful, not really something we need. So we are going to, you should be set to extract on the bottom, by the way. We are going to make a third channel for items that extract items and insert them into here. Now we should be good. Getting close to a bucket of light oil. Getting closer. All right, now we've got a bucket of each, and we should be able to pull out a bucket of each. There we go. And so what we'll do is we'll tell you on the left, insert light oil, insert heavy oil, and now I'll tell these guys to extract. And so what we should see is heavy oil in you and light oil in you. So now we'll be able to go through and process all this stuff up. Hopefully that will help, and we'll just kind of have to play it by ear from there. But I think for now that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and you know, I'm always open to your input because you guys always have such good input. So if you have any thoughts or opinions on this setup in here, any thoughts here that I should really kind of start to implement, do let me know. Until then, though, I'm going to be getting some more blaze rods so that we can upgrade this, and then start looking into some of our options and things that we can do from here going forward, as well as figuring out what we're going to do with this oil, because, you know, we have a decent bit of it now. We're going to be producing more and more and more of it. So I just kind of want to start thinking on what all we might do with fuel and with oil. I don't think the oils have any different uses, right? They basically are just good for refined fuel and refined fuel. But, you know, like I said, once we get to the refined fuel, the turbines are actually pretty cool. We've got to go to space first, but the refined fuel will be good for space, will be good for compression dynamos as well. And I think, honestly, a compression dynamo is the biggest thing that I'm going to be waiting for. I don't even think I can make a redstone flux coil right now because I'm so out of blaze rods, or else I would try to do that this episode. But I really don't know what I would use that for anyways. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.